Time dilation. People who've been in accidents might know the feeling. Time suddenly slows down, like you're watching everything in slow motion. That happens because your brain, when it senses danger, starts processing everything around you faster in an attempt to keep you alive. It focuses on every little detail, which distorts your sense of time. Minutes feel like they're dragging, as if time has frozen. That's time dilation. Your brain speeds up its processing to keep you alert, making the moment feel way longer than it actually is. Post-motion illusion. Ever stepped off a car, boat, or even a treadmill and felt like you were still moving? That's the post-motion illusion. Your brain, used to detecting continuous motion, keeps feeling the movement even after it stops. Your senses just need a moment to recalibrate, and during that time, it's like your brain still sees motion while your body is already still. I always get this feeling after using the treadmill. Everyday automatism. Ever done something on autopilot, like putting your phone in the fridge? That's what we call everyday automatism. When you're running on autopilot, doing your daily routines without much thought, your brain just goes with the flow. It's so used to these actions that it performs them mechanically without checking if you're doing it right. And that's when weird little mistakes happen. Your brain only realizes something's off once it's already too late. Déjà vu. Ever had that eerie feeling like, I've been here before? That's the classic déjà vu. Scientifically speaking. Your brain processes information along two pathways, one fast and one more detailed. When they get out of sync, the brain tricks you into thinking a new experience is actually an old memory. It's like your brain glitches in the timeline and you feel like you've lived that moment before. Some people say it's a glitch in the matrix. Do you agree? Afterimage. Ever stared into headlights at night or looked at a white screen for too long and ended up with that weird ghost blotch in your vision? Like a special effect, but not so fun? That's an afterimage, and it's totally normal. What's happening is a kind of fatigue in the retina cells. They're the ones that detect light and send that info to your brain. When you stare at something too bright for too long, those cells get saturated. Like a muscle that's overworked. So even after you look away or close your eyes, they keep replaying the image like a visual echo. The good news: it goes away after a few seconds because the cells bounce back quickly. Moral of the story: don't stare at bright lights for fun. Not only does it cause this glitch, but it can actually damage your eyes over time. Tip of the tongue phenomenon. The word is right there, you know it, but it's like there's a bouncer blocking the way. That's the tip of the tongue phenomenon. It happens because of a temporary glitch in your retrieval memory. Basically, your brain remembers everything except the sound of the word. You might even recall the concept, the first letter, or how many syllables it has, but the exact word? Gone. That's because info in the brain is stored in a web of neural connections, and sometimes one of those links just doesn't fire. It usually happens with rarely used words or proper names, the ones with weaker connections. And yes, the more you try to force it, the worse it gets. The good news? Your brain usually sorts it out on its own later, like a little IT guy in your head rebooting the system when you least expect it. Phantom notification sound. You think you heard your phone vibrate or a notification ping, but nothing happened. That's a phantom sound illusion. It happens because the brain tends to anticipate sounds we expect often, like phone alerts. When we're distracted or mentally overloaded, it sometimes predicts those sounds and makes you hear them, even if they never occurred. Basically, your brain is on alert, trying to stay ahead of what it thinks is coming, and sometimes it gets it wrong. Mental echolalia. You're chillin', not thinking of much, and suddenly your brain goes, "How you doin'?" In Joey's exact voice from Friends. And it keeps playing, over and over. You didn't ask for this. But your brain decided to sabotage you with an internal echo. That's mental echolalia, when your mind grabs a word, phrase, or catchphrase and hits repeat like an infinite loop parrot. This happens because parts of the brain involved in language, like the auditory cortex and Broca's area, get hyperactive when they hear something rhythmic, catchy, or repetitive. Your brain thinks, "Hey, this must be important," and puts it on loop. Could be a joke, an ad, a song, or even a random comment from a stranger on the train. It's like your brain is trying to process or rehearse the phrase, even if it's completely meaningless. And most people don't even notice how often it happens until they've repeated it in their head for the 10th time. Baader-Meinhof Effect. You learn a new word, like metacognition, and suddenly it pops up in a podcast, a random social media post, and even in a conversation you weren't supposed to be listening to. Coincidence? Your brain says no. This glitch has a German movie-sounding name, but it's all psychological. The Baader-Meinhof Effect, also known as frequency illusion. Here's what's going on. Once something new hits your mental radar, your brain activates a selective attention filter. What used to go unnoticed is now on your watch list. That info was always there, you just started noticing it after learning about it. Same thing when you buy a red car and suddenly it feels like everyone has a red car too. It's not a worldwide red car conspiracy, your brain just tuned itself to pay more attention to it. This effect is a mix of recent memory and selective focus. And yeah, it can feel like the universe is trolling you. But in reality, it's just you noticing more. Frequency, or recency, illusion. Have you noticed that after spotting something once, it suddenly shows up everywhere? That's the frequency illusion, also called the recency illusion. When the brain becomes aware of a new stimulus, it starts paying more attention to it, which makes you think it's happening more often than it really is. For example, after buying a new car, you start seeing the same model all over the place. That's your brain highlighting things it now sees as relevant, giving the illusion that they've increased in frequency. Momentary depersonalization. Ever suddenly feel like you're not really in your own body? Like you're watching yourself from outside? That's momentary depersonalization, a strange sense of disconnect between you and your own existence. It usually happens when the brain is overwhelmed or under intense stress. As a coping mechanism, it disconnects you from yourself to escape emotional overload. It might feel unsettling, but it's just your brain trying to protect you. And yes, it's temporary. Hypnagogic sound. Ever heard a weird sound, like a knock or a voice, right as you were falling asleep? That's a hypnagogic sound, a common phenomenon during the transition from wakefulness to sleep. As your brain powers down, it can mix up some sensory signals, creating imaginary sounds. Could be anything from a ringing phone to random music. This happens because the brain is still partially active in that in-between state, leading to sensory glitches. Don't worry, you're not losing it. Delayed auditory processing. You know when someone asks you something and you respond, huh, only to immediately realize what they said? That's delayed auditory processing. It happens when your brain doesn't process what was said right away. Maybe you're distracted or mentally overloaded, and your brain needs a few extra beats to make sense of it. It's like a small lag before the info clicks, and suddenly, it all makes sense. Hypnic jerk, or sleep myoclonus. That sudden jolt right as you're about to fall asleep, like you're falling off a cliff? That's a hypnic jerk, also called sleep myoclonus. It's super common. When your body relaxes too quickly, your brain sometimes misreads it as a falling sensation and fires a reflex to catch you. It's your brain saying, "Whoa there, are we falling?" and triggering a mini panic response. Feels weird, but it's totally normal. Sleep paralysis. Ever wake up in the middle of the night and can't move a muscle? That feeling of being stuck in your own body is called sleep paralysis. It happens when your brain wakes up from REM sleep, the deep dream stage, but your body is still frozen, a safety feature to stop you from acting out your dreams. The issue is, your brain is awake but your body hasn't caught up yet, leading to that eerie immobility. It's often accompanied by hallucinations too, since your brain is still half in dreamland. Luckily, I've never had this happen to me. Earworm Phenomenon. That catchy song stuck on repeat in your head? That's the earworm phenomenon. When a song keeps looping in your brain, it's usually because it has a catchy melody, repetitive lyrics, or because your brain just latched onto it. Once it's in, your brain starts replaying it over and over, especially when you're trying to focus on something else. It's like a persistent little jukebox you didn't ask for. Temporary hearing loss from pressure, mild barotrauma. You know that ear pop when you're on a plane or diving underwater. That's temporary hearing loss from pressure or mild barotrauma. It happens when there's a pressure difference between the air around you and the pressure inside your ear. Quick altitude changes make it hard for your ears to adjust, causing that blocked feeling. The good news? It usually clears up on its own once things balance out. So those are 17 mental glitches. Have any of them happened to you? Or do you know one that's not on the list? Drop it in the comments. What's fascinating is that each of these bugs makes me wonder, are we just a super advanced computer?